Let's put the interior back in, shall we? So unfortunately, putting the interior back in was interrupted several times by neighbors. Charlie across the street come over and had to have a look to see what was happening, and then the neighbor next to me, his nephew, had come over. He needed some help welding an exhaust to his Scooby-Doo van, so I loaned him a small MIG and kind of showed him how I would do it. I'm not an expert at welding, but I know enough to be dangerous, so he did a good job too, having never done it before. Welding something thin like exhaust pipe is not always easy. So, anyways, you'll see that later in the video. So once you slap the carpet in, it's just a matter of, fishing out all the wires and getting everything sort of put in the right position. Pulling wires through and here I'm removing all of the clips that I had reinserted into place so that I would know where they go as I'm putting it back together. Now, fortunately, because I extracted the carpet, it was only a few days, before I was able to work through all of the interior parts, the soft and hard interior components. And so remembering how everything went was a little easier, but I've had this take weeks before. Because I pressure wash the carpet and don't think about it, and that foam underneath gets wet. I strongly advise not doing that unless it's summertime. So that little plastic piece that I'm putting in there, that's the guard that goes next to the accelerator pedal. Prevents you from constantly wearing the carpet down right there. And there's a few of those, little pieces like that. The seats have caps on them and shit, I guess that's about it. Anyways. I forgot that little push pin under the carpet. And I think that those two, or maybe just that one, are the only ones beyond the one that goes underneath the rear seat. But that one's really easy to get to. If you don't pull the wires through after you've snapped everything in place, it's kind of a pain to get them out of there. So it's always helpful to try to do it, now. Now, the passenger side, that little, I guess, knee rest right there on the passenger side, the one that I just installed, that thing goes in really easy on that side. But on the driver's side, you got to kind of take things apart a little bit further. It seems to tuck up and behind panels, unlike the passenger side. What else did I forget? Oh, yeah, the wiring. Don't do that. No, I mean, obviously it's fine. But if you just make it too far without realizing it, it becomes a pain. Here you can see I'm missing the rear cup holders in that center console. So it's something I'm going to be, looking around the used market for, or, eBay, junkyards, pick and pull, whatever. They'll probably make me have to buy the entire center console. You get it through a place like LKQ or, any of that. Wouldn't really be a big deal, but I'd like to be able to just find that, Was that a leaf that just fell in there? That's funny. And here comes Charlie. Charlie's getting up there in age. And I work on so many, Outbacks that look really similar. They might be different colors, but they look, shape-wise similar enough. And he can never seem to remember, which one I'm working on, or what are you doing with this one? Where'd you get this one? It's like, Charlie, this one's been in the garage for the last month, man. Now, for the next little bit here, I'm going to struggle real hard with this parking brake here. And for whatever reason, the release button, the thumb push button, it is wedged. It gets wedged. And I can't seem to figure out why. And it's a problem that still persists. I have yet to take it back apart and have a look at it. You can, here I'm thinking, maybe the gearing, or, the levers inside the push arm, or, whatever mechanism it was. I can't remember now. But maybe that's, seized. But no, none of it was seized. In fact, what I ended up discovering is you could take the handle of the parking brake and twist it, and in doing so, it releases the button. And that's just the thing. You push the button in, and set the parking brake. It doesn't let go. It doesn't stop, so the handle just falls back down. So you can You could grab the handle and you could twist the handle and it will release the button. So I'm thinking that somewhere inside there, maybe that's a new handle that somebody's put on. I know they do have a tendency to fail. Maybe that's a new handle that somebody's put on and it wasn't put on correctly, or it wasn't OEM, it was an aftermarket something or other, and I don't know, it's just not quite right. So one of these days I'll take it back apart and figure out definitively what it is. I did a little bit of searching on the forums and I haven't been able to find anybody else who's had the issue, so I'm not entirely sure. Here I'm using electrical cleaner. Seems an odd choice, but it dries fast. Doesn't seem to affect the carpet or the plastics very much. Unlike brake clean that would just destroy everything, And I'm just working on those levers and, all those mechanisms inside of there. Thinking maybe the grease is old or stiff. Charlie's side seat mechanicking. Do this, do that. No. At some point here, I'm going to give up. Move on to other things and come back to that later. I've found a few times during this build that when I start getting frustrated, just walk away. Go find something else to do, take a break, have a cup of coffee, get some water. Now that I've cut all that grease, I'm adding fresh. But of course, none of that was the issue. I mean, it helped. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't, was not the issue at all. It's almost like the release button hits the inside of the handle and just binds it up. Because like I said, you could grab the end of it and twist it and it will release. And that's been my workaround. To either not use the button, pull up on it, and let it click. Or if I do use the button, give it a twist and it'll release. Now you don't have to take those side panels off to pull the carpet. And getting them back in is kind of a pain. Something about the way they go together. Or maybe not having easy access to it. Sometimes beating on things enough seems to be the ticket. Now getting the connectors undone on the seats is a real pain, but putting them back together, it's a snap. The hardest part is just figuring out which one goes where. And making sure you route the wires correctly so that, nothing gets bound up. I was really impressed with how these seats come out. Actually, I was pretty impressed with how the entire interior come out. Now, we're not done cleaning. Once the car is completely back together and on the road, and I've worked through, some of the issues that I'm going to find, I will go back through with Mr. Steamy, and we will make one more pass over some of the hard surfaces. And then we'll give it a full detail with some nice interior cleaner and, some smell good stuff. Scrub the windows up, because I haven't touched the windows yet, and there's no point. I'm still going to get my hands all over this thing. Cleaning glass has always been a bit of an issue for me. I'm still stuck on that handle, Anyways, cleaning glass has always been an issue for me. It's never quite right. There's always streaks, and it's irritating when there's streaks. You drive into the sun and you could really see it, and I haven't been able to figure out how to clean glass really effectively. I've come pretty close, though. World's best glass cleaner. I think it's made by Spray Away. And magic erasers seem to do the best, but so I had to reposition the seat there. Leaning it back, it rocked up too high and I couldn't get the wires connected. So I set it back down, repositioned the seat, and then, pulling the seat back allowed it to come closer to the floorboard.
what you're gonna do? I guess I'm going to bench weld just on the cardboard over there. Doing it on final material homes. Oh, okay. I mean, just be prudent, you know? Yeah. What should I do now? I don't have a grip band or anything here. Who do you need a grip band for? Like, well, yeah. I don't want to fuck up this.
So my neighbor's nephew is over. Like I said, we're going to be doing some welding. And I actually got to this pretty late in the day, and I don't know. Took about an hour and a half or so to, get the interior back in. Maybe a little less. But I didn't put the entirety of the interior back in. The rear portion, the rear furthest portion of the car was left undone. So the passenger side rear panel in the hatch area in the back of the wagon, that didn't get put on because I knew that the paintless dent repair guy was going to need access to the dent that we're going to pull out later. So, and then I don't know if you guys saw, there's this black wire that I've been fighting. It's a part of the tow hitch that U-Haul installed, and they did a really shitty job with all of that. And I'm actually going to remove the tow hitch on this car. So I didn't bother trying to reroute that wire. I just figure, I'm gonna pull it out anyways at some point. My dog Maya loves when people come around. It's so funny. I mean, she will cry at the door if she hears somebody else. Let me out. Let me say hi. And she just tries to absorb them like, you got any more pets for me? Now again, with the upper portion of the rear seat, I fight with them to get them out, and I fight with them to get them in. Like I said last time, it's almost at a point where, right when you're about to boil over, right when you're about to get pissed off, everything kind of clicks into place.
I know, man. My mom's got an Outback. It's a one. Oh, really? Yeah. I think 2016. Oh, wow. She was up in, she was down. She drove over 100,000 miles. Jeez, 4 years. So we do. I think that was it's like 99,500. I don't roll over. It's like 5 digits on the odometer, so it's like...
So you can see Tommy back there, and he's got his Blowmaster. Kind of unfortunate to have him welding on the floor like that, but I got a fresh set of heads sitting on the bench, and a bunch of other stuff, so I wasn't really prepared for somebody to come around and weld in my shop. But it came at a good time, because right about where he's working was where the interior of the car was sitting. I don't know if I mentioned it. This is his first time welding, and he actually did a good job. Like I said, welding that thin pipe is difficult. It's easy to blow holes into it. But that little Lincoln MIG welder that he's using, it's a 140C. It's a 120 volt MIG welder, and it's a little beast. That thing does good, especially on small stuff like that. I've got a Miller 200 that I picked up, built in 1981, and depending on who you ask, it's 250 or 275 amps or some such thing, but you almost can't turn it down far enough to be able to do thin metal like exhaust or sheet metal. And that's where those little 110 welders come in handy. I don't know what the hell I was showing you there, or why. It's actually starting to get pretty late at this point, and I'm surprised that the camera has done as well as it has without there being a ton of noise in the video. I think I actually had the passenger side on that one. And you can kind of see that black wire over there next to the B pillar. U-Haul did such a shitty job installing that. It's just so dumb the way they did it. I'm not even entirely sure why they needed to pull power from the battery all the way back. I haven't looked at any of the wiring in there. Maybe there's a transformer of sorts that's independently powered and operates the brake lights for the trailer and that kind of stuff. Now you may think that having a tow hitch and wiring is a selling feature, and I suppose you're right. There could be. Personally, when I look at cars, if I see a trailer hitch on a car like this, I think to myself, that transmission's shot. The brakes are shot. Somebody's overloaded it. Somebody's had to push it real hard. Somebody moved a a 3 or 4 bedroom house with a huge trailer. And even though that that's probably not the case, that's the feeling that I get. And so my thought is that if I feel that way, maybe somebody else would too. So I'm actually going to pull it. And I've got a 2006 Outback that my brother has right now. And it's a 6-cylinder, and he's got a small fishing boat, like a 12 or 14 foot aluminum with a 25 horse 4-stroke on it or something. It's tiny, and so he doesn't have anything to tow it with. So we're actually going to pull that all off, and we're going to put it on that car, since that car's a beater anyways. Look at how clean that seat come out. I am really impressed. Like I said, the whole car, it's amazing. Alright, so that pretty much concludes the interior removal, cleanup, reinstall. Like I said, there's still some stuff in the back, and we'll get to that after paintless dent repair work is done. But I think at this point we are ready to put the engine back together. So stick around. Thanks for hanging out. What do we have in here?